Good evening everyone and welcome to Guild Wars 2 Daily. The footage in the background for today comes from me again. I quite enjoyed doing the footage. The thing is right now where I'm just spending so much time playing the game and enjoying myself and not doing other peripheral videos that I know I want to do, like all those I talked about in the channel update. Where I'm doing that, I like that at least I can film something that I'm doing if I'm using my footage at the moment. I am still building that list and I will throw it out again in case anyone missed yesterday's video. If you have footage you'd like to appear on this show, get in contact with me, send me a link on YouTube and we can build up a list again. I'm using only footage that's actually come out for the game after launch, not beta stuff, to try and keep up to date, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's me again. I'm on my Elementalist. I'm on the exact same setup as yesterday. I had a fair few comments actually of people asking about my setup, so on the footage I did show exactly what my traits are and what weapons I'm using and stuff like that. It's just dual daggers, and like I said, I don't actually think the build I'm using is probably very good, because it is so glass cannony. If you're not careful and you get knocked in the wrong direction, they will kill you very, very quickly, and you'll see that a few times as we go forward. I think it's a lot of fun though. I've pretty much only been using dual daggers as I've been going through. I swapped over to a staff for a while in World vs World because they're a little bit better for that, and I was using a staff in the Ascalon Catacombs as well, which I tried out the other day, which was really difficult, but using a staff I could actually get that bit of distance and add that little bit of support. Dual daggers there, I just did not have the survivability to get anywhere near any of the enemies if there was more than one of them, which is a bit of a shame, but hey, swapping weapons isn't the end of the world. But yeah, dual daggers, that's generally just my favourite thing for Ellie. If you are interested in it, also another good one is Scepter Dagger offhand. You still get a fair bit of the mobility, and your big spike actually is a little bit bigger because you can use Dragon's Tooth, Phoenix, and then you can use your 4 and 5 on your dagger, which is quite cool. So there's loads you can do with it. This is why I love the Elementalist, swapping the achievements and stuff. There are so many different combos and interesting things you can do that it's just incredibly fun. I love experimenting with it, and as you can see, I'm a little bit over leveled in this footage here actually, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure how the scaling is really working, whether if I got, you know, to level 60 and went back I'd be doing tons more damage. I am a bit over leveled, which is why I'm doing a fair bit of damage there, but I'm just kind of completing that area. That's what I'm doing at the moment, guys, in game. I think I showed you the map as well. What I'm trying to do before I progress too far forward and basically start on that long climb south, I want to get on this character all of the starter areas done and their level 15 plus area done as well, which I've almost finished. So I've done the Norn stuff now as of recording this. I've only got the Char stuff left to do, and then I'm essentially just going to start the long descent down towards Ore, which should be really cool. Lots of people have been to Ore. I saw a thread. I'm not going to link to it because it's kind of spoilery, and I almost, even though I know you are people and you have decisions of yourself, if you do want to see it, it is very spoilery. But if you go on Guru, you can see people are talking about how they've defeated Zaitan now and stuff like this, and all spoilery good stuff that's going on, which is really interesting. Someone did actually ask me on Daily yesterday, how am I going to handle spoilers going into the future? I don't know, because to tell you the truth, I think I know most of the big spoilers at this point. I've kind of ruined it for myself. But I don't know when I should really tell you guys about it. There's some interesting stuff in the game to do with that pale tree is an elder dragon theory. There's a lot of interesting stuff, loads of cool things. I'm not sure when I'll start to talk about it. I guess I could wait a couple of weeks because not everyone's powering through it, and I wouldn't want to put a load of you guys off because I'm about to spoil what's happening in your personal story and stuff. We'll wait until we've done that at least. I guess I don't have a specific time frame. It will just be when it feels right. But anyway, moving on to the actual news. There's been a fair bit from ArenaNet. In fact, just before I started recording this, they announced on Twitter something they've done on Reddit, which I'll get into in a second. A couple of things that I found personally interesting though. There was an interview on Giant Bomb that didn't actually look at Guild Wars 2 too favourably. It was one of these guys that didn't really know much about the game before going in, and I think had a lot of the wrong expectations. There was a lot of overhyping for the game, we all know that there was, but this was a guy that just generally wasn't impressed and seemed to think it was completely standard cookie cutter, which, you know, might not interest a lot of you listening, but obviously Giant Bomb, if you're not aware, is a reasonably big gaming site, so that was quite an interesting read anyway. Other stuff that's going on that probably is more important to you, in fact I probably should have said this one first, accounts are being hacked, so be careful, be on your toes. Whether this can be traced back to NCSoft and some of the crazy stuff that happened with Guild Wars 1, I don't know. I doubt it's very, in fact it's definitely not very widespread. There are people that have been hacked, but obviously if you've been hacked you make a bigger commotion about it, so it seems like it's always more widespread than it is. But do be aware. I think some people were trying to gold farm and stuff in the game, but ArenaNet actually have been pretty good at banning people as well, so we've had a few people be hacked sadly, but I think they're being resolved. But banned accounts, a lot of accounts have been banned of people trying to gold farm and basically just exploit the system. And also, more bad news, I guess, for a lot of people actually, is other accounts are being banned because they have offensive character names, which you might think, okay, that's fair enough, offensive character name, yeah, sure, ban them. But these are people being banned for having offensive character names that are only offensive in a different language. So you've got a name that you think is totally normal and everyone who speaks your language will not be offended by, but because in another language it's offensive, it's hitting these filters that are obviously in the system, and people are just being banned for it and not doing anything wrong at all, which is quite a scary thought. But again, I do temper that with this news as well. It's really not so bad. It's some people have had it happen to them and it has been a legitimate mistake by the system, but then there have been tons more people that have been banned and are saying they have been unrightfully banned and citing this as the reason, but in fact it's been something completely different. It's because they've been a total, complete and utter arse in all chat in the game, and ArenaNet do have a legitimate reason for banning them. And in fact, ArenaNet have been calling people out on it publicly on the internet who have been saying, oh, I was banned for no reason and this is my character name, and then ArenaNet have come around and said, no, you were banned for this, and posting the chat logs to everyone, and you can see they're just absolute bastards and they deserve to be banned. So that's quite funny. But yeah, these things are things you should be aware of and people are talking about. Some accounts have been hacked, very few though, and some people have been unrightfully banned, but I guess those are being resolved, so that's something. And also there was a big post, this is the main thing really, there was a big post on Reddit today by ArenaNet. Have you noticed how they're using Reddit a fair bit more now actually? They kind of snuck up into it a little bit, and now they're kind of there quite a lot. I really like that. I like that they're embracing Reddit as an avenue for interacting with their community. It's really cool. But basically they posted on Reddit a lot of different stuff that they're talking about with the game. As we know, there have been a few issues. I've talked about them over the past couple of days on Guild Wars 2 Daily. I've been talking about so many issues. I'm scared that I'm putting people off the game because it's really not that bad, guys. It's really not that bad. But anyway, there have been these small things, and they have posted, and basically they addressed the hacks straight away. They said, yes, some people have been hacked, but they are going to be rolling out email authentication, which, without getting into specifics, it improves security and it will pretty much stop this kind of thing from happening, which will be great. And that's beginning on Thursday through a phased implementation. So you might get the authentication come to you straight away, or you might have to wait a little while, but that's rolling out from Thursday, so that'll be happening very soon, so don't be too worried about that. They also address something else quite interesting, which is servers, the server populations of people. Now, Europe has had a few problems, but it's really interesting to me that actually the French and German servers are incredibly full. Every single French server is on a high population, like nearly full. And get this, in Germany, all of the German servers, all of the German worlds are full. So ArenaNet are putting out new worlds straight away. They word it in such a way that to me it seems like they're going to be hesitant to put out too many extra worlds because they know that in a couple of months obviously the player base will drop down as people move on from the game, which is totally understandable. But for Germany, they are increasing the worlds. I think they said that they were adding 2 more worlds there and an extra world for France as well, because that's so high over there too, which is really cool. I'm surprised they kind of got caught with their pants down here though. They should have predicted, I think, that they'd need another world. At the end of the day, you look at how big of an audience Guild Wars 1 had in Germany, it was only natural that a big portion of that was going to come over to Guild Wars 2. But yeah, so they're adding more worlds there, and hopefully that will fix some problems, which is good to see. I think it's a good problem to have if you're going to have a problem with the servers, that they're too full at the very least. Another big problem that has been impacting us all for a very long time, and I've mentioned it, the trading post being down. Actually, ArenaNet put it up earlier. I think they tried to put it up globally to everyone, and then everyone immediately tried to log onto it, and it just crashed down again straight away, and it just didn't work. So what they've done now is the trading post is up, but only for a random 15% of players while they work out on getting the resources they need to have it running for everyone. So if you get lucky, I don't know whether you can play the system and log in and out until you get to that 15% or what, but if you get lucky, you could be one of those random 15% of players that has access to the trading post. That might not be a great thing though anyway, because if only 15% of everyone can get on it, then maybe you're not going to get the right sales or the right demand for certain things. So anyway, that's going on. They are working on the trading post, and for some of you, it will be up, so be happy with that. Another service that's been down for today, oh my god, I make everything sound so bad. Another one that came down was the mail system. You might have noticed wasn't working. That actually wasn't through incompetence that fell off or anything. Actually, ArenaNet found out people were abusing the mail system somehow. How they were doing it, I don't know. It must have been some kind of item duplication. They must have had a way to send a mail and keep an item or something like that. That's what I'm guessing anyway. But people were somehow abusing the mail system, so they're taking it down so that they can fix that, stop it being abusable, and then they'll bring it back up for everyone. So that was actually on purpose that's gone down, and that's what's going on there. And basically they are working on loads of fixes and stuff, and they're expecting the servers to go down for 20 minutes to an hour or something at 12 o'clock their time. The same thing happened last night, but it was only down for like 10 minutes or something, a really ridiculously low amount of time. So I'm not saying expect the same, expect what ArenaNet tell you to expect, but last night we did get in earlier than they said. Anyway, so yeah, wow, that was a lot of doom saying, hey guys, Guild Wars 2 is awesome, and it is working, and it's fully playable, and it's a fun game. I've got 2 questions for today. The first one's from Sonata Favs, who says, do you have any information about when they're going to open the Polymock Arena? I thought it would be implemented at launch, since the dev team seemed very proud of it in the interviews. Yeah, didn't they seem quite proud of a fair few of these mini games that actually aren't here at the moment? The main one for me is really the bar brawl. I mean, Jesus, they talked so much about that, and everyone was so excited about that, and it's not there. It's like, what? How? You talked about it so much. Were these just plans you had, but they weren't actually implemented? I do remember ArenaNet saying on several occasions that they don't talk about features unless they're in and fully working and implemented. So I don't know really. Maybe they've just got some problems with it. They want to iron them out before they put out the mini games. I think they probably had quite lofty expectations. At the end of the day, if you don't put in a reasonable amount of effort into designing the mini games, then they're just going to become some cheap little flick thing people do for a little while till they get bored of it, and then they never really want to go back because they're sort of done with it. If they're really clever about designing these mini games, yes, there might be less of them, but they could be really strong core parts of the game, and that's what MMOs really work off of. The feeling that, you know, you might get bored of one part of the MMO, but then there's this or this or this that you want to go through and try. And the more of these mini games that are really fun, viable, interesting, exciting, rewarding parts of the gameplay, then the better that it will do in the long run. It's a shame. I do think it is a shame that stuff like this isn't out. Polymock in particular is something I've always been quite excited about. You might remember when I went to Eurogamer in 2011, I really wanted to ask them about Polymock, but yeah, it just doesn't seem to be ready. Whether it will still work with the mini pets or whether they're changing anything like that, we don't know, but fingers crossed that when these things come, they'll come soon and they'll come really strong. I mean, this is really what I'm relying on. We have to see what their schedules are for after launch, but they've just not announced it. Maybe I'm just missing the interviews where they've said. Anyway, the other question is from I am Marco99, are you Marco, who says, you're saying that being level 80 isn't any different from being a low level, but don't you think that takes away from playing through the game? If there's nothing bigger or better to be done at those levels, then what is the point? It depends, I suppose, how important big numbers are to you, because if you don't actually care about the incredibly superficial fact that your numbers are doing more damage, the level you're at actually shouldn't mean a damn thing. Now, the waters do get more murky, considering that even though you're scaled down, you are not scaled fully down. So I mean, you will have noticed I'm level 40, right? I go back to a level 1 area at the moment, and I use one skill, pretty much any of my skills, and I just one hit stuff, okay, which isn't really something I think ArenaNet wanted to be there, but I guess that they decided it would be okay for that kind of thing to happen in the very early starter areas. No one's going to worry too much about that, and quite quickly as you then proceed, as you can see in the footage in the background right now, I'm over double the level I'm supposed to be for some of those areas, and I'm not one hitting them. So you do scale down to an extent that makes the content still fun, and that's really all it comes down to. How big are the numbers? That is the main difference between if you're a level 80 playing in a lower level area. If you were one of these people that rushed to level 80 right at the start, then just think of Guild Wars 2 as a game without leveling, and the entire thing is designed without leveling, because that's just not a part of it. And why would you continue playing? Well, you're motivated because the game's fun, not because you're leveling up. When did this switch happen, that people were playing for the carrot on the stick, not playing for the game itself? I mean, there's such a terrifying thought that that's what people prefer. They're only playing if they're leveling leveling up. You just have fun. The entire game is available to you. You have fun. You go and you experience all the events and the things you might have missed as you were rushing through to 80. I feel like it might take a tiny bit away, but the experience is so similar at level 80 than everywhere else, then it just really doesn't matter. Obviously, there are other complications as well. I mean, look at Ore, for example. Ore is a very different experience. Ore is kind of an end game in its own. You can look at PvE end game in Guild Wars 2, actually, it really seems now looking at it. You can look at it as just kind of exploring the world and doing what you did going up to level 80, which is perfectly viable and perfectly fun and perfectly good for getting all those skill points for legendary weapons and stuff. You can look at it as the dungeons as well, the really difficult content, going through the dungeons as much as possible. You can see that as the end game. And actually also, Ore is quite different from the rest of the game, to the extent now it seems that really that could be an end game in its own. Just really focus on these big branching meta events that take you to these awesome places and actually have some good unique rewards at the end of them too. So yeah, I mean, who cares if you're level 80? You've got all these different things to choose from now. That's why you're still playing the game. The feeling might be diminished ever so slightly because you would have been making more progress otherwise, I guess, because you would have been getting experience. But don't forget about Karma. I mean, Karma you can just view as the new experience once you're at level 80. You're doing it for the Karma. And that ties in quite nicely as well, obviously, because on your way to level 80, presumably you finish the hearts, which are a one-time thing, and now what's left and is repeatable gives you, guess what, Karma. That's kind of the way I see it. The level 80 guy that rushed there has been, I've seen quite a lot of animosity towards him saying, oh, he's just wasted the experience, oh, he's ruined it. And I maintain, really, if you think about it, Guild Wars 2, out of all MMOs out of there, is the one game that's very forgiving in that regard. You can rush to 80 and you can still have a pretty rewarding experience in the game. I don't think it's necessarily wasted at all, especially considering it's not like he now is incapable of making a new character. I mean, it's not like, oh, you rush to level 80 in the pre-purchase and you lose all your other character slots and the ability to delete your existing character. Come on, he's not wasted anything. He's just done what he's enjoyed and he's accomplished something pretty awesome. Anyway, there you go, guys. That was Guild Wars 2 Daily for today. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry about all the negativity. The game is going awesome, and ArenaNet are working on stuff, so take that away. This is a positive thing. They're working on it and they're being very open and transparent with us, the community, so hooray for that. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening, everyone.
Observe the power of fire! The earth is my weapon!